So someone posted this article on Facebook. Are butter, cheese, and steak really bad for you? Very interesting read. Alright, in a nutshell, Nina Teicholz wrote a book entitled The Big Fat Surprise: Why Butter, Meat, and Cheese Belong in a Healthy Diet. And this article is essentially an interview that she summarizes what she spoke about in the book. She's a reporter or journalist doing research on fat in our diets and in our lives. I read the first couple of paragraphs and already I get a shiver up my spine. But let's read a few paragraphs to see what she has to say. The fact is, there has never been solid evidence for the idea that these fats, and she's referring to saturated fats in butter, cheese, and red meat, cause disease. Oh no. This is how I feel when I read articles like this.
This is ridiculous, okay? God damn it!
Let's give a few examples of solid evidence. I've posted a few links in the description below to YouTube movies. Why reinvent the wheel when someone else has already done it? These YouTube videos are made by Plant Positive, which is a really good YouTube channel, and Dr. Greger with nutritionfacts.org, another great YouTube channel and website, who put this subject to bed. The link between most of the world's chronic foodborne illnesses and excessive intakes of saturated fats and cholesterol has been profoundly verified. Let me give you a couple more examples. Dr. Dean Ornish took patients with heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, and cholesterol, fed them a diet, high carb, high fiber, low fat, and voila, they got better. Dr. Esselstyn took patients who were ravaged by heart disease, who had had heart attacks, fed them a plant-based, high-carb, low-fat diet, and they slowed the progression and even reversed heart disease. Dr. McDougall recommends low-fat, high-starch diets, i.e. carbohydrates, to all of his patients with foodborne diseases like heart disease, diabetes, strokes, high blood pressure and cholesterol, and general obesity, and they get better. Dr. Barnard treats his patients who have diabetes with a whole foods, plant-based diet. One commonality that all these lifestyles have are whole foods, plant-based lifestyles with no animal products. How do we contract these diseases, the diseases I just mentioned? How do we get them from high-fat and high-cholesterol diets? Where does the cholesterol and most of the saturated fat in our diets come from? It's animal products. But there's never been solid evidence that these fats cause disease. I'd like to read a few more passages so we can really get the full view of Nina's misunderstanding. She claims consumption of saturated fat, meanwhile, has dropped by 11% according to the best available government data. Perhaps. I tried looking for this, couldn't really find any data. There was nothing cited in her article, but I have a very hard time believing this. When total meat consumption per person has gone up from about 120 pounds in the early 1900s to well over 200 pounds in 2007. Also, in 1909, Americans ate an average of about 294 pounds of dairy products per year. In 2006, it was 605 pounds. Meat and dairy are the leading sources of saturated fats in our diets. So that's why I'm highly skeptical that saturated fat consumption has gone down recently. She goes on to say, translation, instead of meat, eggs, and cheese, we're eating more pasta, grains, fruit, and starchy vegetables such as potatoes. Excessive carbohydrates lead not only to obesity, but also, over time, to type 2 diabetes and very likely heart disease. Too much whole grain oatmeal for breakfast and whole grain pasta for dinner, with fruit snacks in between, add up to a less healthy diet than one of eggs and bacon, followed by fish.
God damn it!
Here's something else to think about. The biggest epidemiological study ever conducted was the China study by T. Colin Campbell. He and a team went into China and documented the lifestyle and health and eating habits of hundreds of thousands of native Chinese in China from all over the country. And here's a little bit of what they found. Animal protein promotes the growth of cancer cells. Pesticides are disgusting, but none of them switch on the growth of cancer cells like poor nutrition. The results of the study: eat plants for health. Heart disease can be reversed through nutrition, and carbs are not the enemy. While we're talking about all this fat and meat and protein, not to mention, what's the number one macronutrient that gives us energy on a day-to-day basis? Energy to walk the dog or play with your kids or go run a half marathon? It's carbohydrates. It's sugars in the form of carbohydrates. Although again, this isn't very scientific, but it draws more upon your common sense. Look at the leading doctors who promote this plant-based lifestyle. Esselstyn, McDougall, Ornish, Barnard, Campbell, or Dr. Garth Davis. They're all lean and trim and healthy. And then look at the other side. Look at the doctors or the medical professionals who promote the low-carb, high-fat diets. One example is Dr. Atkins, the whole Atkins diet. That's when this whole thing started. Dr. Atkins was severely overweight when he died from complications of a heart attack. In a way, I give Dr. Atkins credit because he believed very strongly in his idea of the Atkins diet. And he stuck to his guns. He practiced what he preached. But in the end, the diet was his demise. Sally Fallon is the president of the Weston A. Price Foundation, which promote the consumption of egg yolks, butter, whole milk, cheese, fatty meats like bacon, and animal fats. I wouldn't take nutritional advice from her, but that's just me. I would want to take it from people who look healthy, who look vibrant. So a lesson to take away from this is doctors and experts can be wrong. Just because they're doctors doesn't mean they are always right, especially when it comes to nutrition. Dr. Atkins was a medical doctor, and that didn't turn out too well. I want you to consider this. Although it's, again, not very scientific, consider for a second judging by results and not theory. So these doctors have come up with these theories on plant-based nutrition over decades and decades. Just throw that out for a second and just judge by results. Judge by the results of the patients that these doctors have treated over the years. They've recovered from cholesterol, diabetes, heart disease. Doesn't that say something? But thankfully, these men didn't just come out of this idea out of thin air. Their ideas and practices have been the results of decades of research and trial and error. Look at the people who have been on these plant-based lifestyles long term. People like Durian Rider, Freely, the plant-based athlete. These people eat more calories coming from carbohydrates than anyone else in the world, and they are lean and healthy and vibrant. Their health markers and blood numbers are superb because they have a low-fat, high-carbohydrate, whole foods, plant-based diet with no animal products, no saturated fats, no cholesterols, no butter, no bacon, no cheese. They're eating a diet that their body was designed for. If you're new to this lifestyle, or if these ideas are new to you, I highly recommend the first step: watch the movie Forks Over Knives. When I watched it, it blew my mind. Research these doctors I spoke of. Read their books. Most, if not all of them, have books available on Amazon. I've also posted a link in the description to a Google Doc with numerous sources to help you figure out this lifestyle. Take advice from the people with the results you desire. Don't fall for the advice of some crooked doctor who wants to give you a prescription for your high blood pressure or your high cholesterol, or even worse, wants to give you a surgery for one of your chronic diseases. The answer is not another pill or another crash diet. The answer is changing your lifestyle to a whole foods, plant-based lifestyle. Don't fall for nutritional advice from journalists who are doing research on high-fat diets. People love hearing good things about their bad habits, so if you hear of a diet that advises you to eat as much bacon, cheese, and meat as possible, it's probably not good advice. Get educated or get medicated. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon.